What's good, Joe? This your boy Six Skills, and today we are playing Hardcore Domination on Stadium. Today I'm being joined by my little brother, Wikked, and here's the gameplay. Today, basically I want to put the gameplay aside because there's something I want to talk about. So every time I talk to this fool, Wikked, it always brings back old memories of what we used to do as kids. So, in reality, tell you the truth is, Wikked is actually my first cousin. But we were raised by the same woman who happens to be our grandmother, because his mother and my mother are sisters. So we were basically dumped on the front doorsteps of my grandparents, and they ended up raising us. My grandfather, who was a pastor back in the Samoan Islands, he was really strict, and basically he was one person you did not want to mess around with. But me and my little brother Wikked, we tested him, and we tested him a lot too, which led to a lot of ass whippings. During our time as kids, this old man, he was strict. If one of us did something wrong, both of us get beat down. And if Wikked did something wrong, we both get beat down. If I did something wrong, I only get beat down. That's how it usually worked in our household. And back then when we was kids, even speaking the English language, we would get beat down. So, in our household back in the days, my grandparents strictly had to speak our native tongue. The Samoan language was spoken in our house, and I wish I could do that to my kids nowadays. But with all the crazy laws they have nowadays, it's hard for me to get away from that. But besides that, I just want to get back to me and Wikked. Growing up as kids, me and Wikked done a lot of crazy stuff that a lot of normal kids wouldn't do when they're the ages. I would say anywhere between 5 and 12. We did some crazy stuff. A lot of stuff I'm not going to talk about because I think some parents can get sued or whatever about stuff that we done. But, that's another story to talk about. But, basically Wikked has been, it was basically Wicked's an only child. My aunt had him at a young age, and she basically left him with my grandparents. And same thing with my mother. At the time, it was me and my brother. My mother left me and my real brother with my grandparents. So there was basically us three. But since my little brother was a good boy, and me and my other brother Wikked were basically the bad kids of the bunch. Everybody in our village knew who me and Wikked was because we were basically the troublemakers back in the days. My grandfather heard everything. He didn't even have to beat her to realize what the hell did we done. And whenever we came home, he was waiting for us. And boy, was he waiting for us. I mean, I never got beaten down so many times in my life, thinking that I was probably doing something right, but seriously, I was not doing it. But, a lot of you Samoan kids can relate to basically what I'm talking about. In the Samoan community, they're serious about their stuff, going on with religion, culture and all that. We don't play around. You mess around, you get beat down. That's how it usually goes. Our community, we're strict on what they call, having kids do the right thing. But most of the time, we don't. We're basically, a lot of us kids are hard-headed kids who basically all we do want to do is be right, and if we're wrong, we will end up fighting you. But yeah, so besides that, I just want to talk about Wikked got me into so much trouble that every day was an ass whipping. Waking up to an ass whipping and going to bed after an ass whipping. It was a normal day. It was basically a daily routine for us, and I look at it back now and then just realize how funny it was back then in those days when we were growing up as kids. Man, I would talk about I had some really bad times back then, but I enjoyed it. I had a really great childhood, living down in the islands with my grandparents. A lot of the kids that I grew up with back in the islands all remember those two kids. Used to be a bunch of badasses, never listened and always wanted to piss people off. But yeah, this kid, he got me in so much trouble. It was crazy, That's why I gotta, that's basically why I love this boy, because all the stuff that we've been through. He will always be my brother, and I hope he understands that that I'll always love him as a brother, because the kid is crazy and he's nuts. So basically, I'm gonna tell you guys a story about how he basically set me up for an ass whipping. Well, we ended up both getting beat down pretty bad, but this kid. So one night we got into some shit, and my grandmother found out. So basically, she called my grandfather and said, Wikked and Sick doing their stuff again. They're getting into trouble again. So he basically told my grandmother, tell him to wait. When I get home, I will deal with this. So, here we are. We get home. My grandmother tells both me and Wikked that, yep, your grandfather knows now. He's waiting for you. I mean, he'll be expecting both of you guys to be here. And when you guys get ready, he's going to want to talk to you. Automatically, we already knew that an ass whipping was going to proceed. So we're sitting there and waiting for him. And it's like back then in the days, before we did anything serious, basically we had a evening prayer. So we had our evening prayer and everything went well. And we were thinking, oh cool, he hasn't mentioned anything yet. But then all of a sudden, after the evening prayer, we sat down. We thought, we're just gonna have dinner and then just go straight to excuse me. We thought we were gonna go straight into get some dinner and then chill. But apparently, my grandfather had other things set for us. So all of a sudden, he brought up the conversation. He says, "Oh, so I heard you and Wikked have been getting into trouble again. What have we talked about?" And I was like, "Oh man, I already know this is not going to be great." So we were sitting there talking, and then all of a sudden, he says, "You know what? Get ready. You guys are going to get an ass whipping." So I'm like sitting there, okay. Back then, I was like, oh shit, what the hell did I do now? So I'm sitting there, and Wikked comes up and he tells my grandfather, well, okay, so we're getting ready for this ass whipping. And then Wikked tells my grandfather, I need to go use the bathroom. So my grandfather says, okay. So he goes use the bathroom. So then, 5 minutes is going. My grandfather and my grandmother are talking, and he's getting ready. He's already rolling up his sleeves. He already took his belt off, and he's getting ready for the ass whipping. So I'm sitting there like, shaking in my, shaking, my knees are shaking, my body's shaking, and I'm like, oh God, not again. So then all of a sudden, Wikked comes back. This guy comes in built like the Hulk. He's got like 4 t-shirts on, 6 sweaters on, sweats, pants, shorts, everything on. And he's sitting there looking at me crazy, and he's like, I was like, holy crap. I'm gonna get fucked up by my dad's self. So he's over there, my grandfather starts whipping on him, and he's just looking at me crazy. And he's laughing at the same time, giving me just dirty ass looks, just laughing at me. And I'm like, oh man, I'm fucked now. My grandfather turns around, he starts whipping me. I mean, after it all said and done, I had so many goddamn welts, and then my little brother Wicked's just laughing at me. He says, how did that feel? and I just wanted to whip his ass too right there. But moral of the story, is just I had fun, back then in those days when we were kids, and I never regret any of those times. But seriously though, thank you guys for listening to my story. This is your boy Six Skills, and I'm out. Peace.